So, to start, my devotional is about how ministry is reaching out and going out to the people who are lost. And it's about how we can do it whether we are working for a church company. It is about how ministry is the job of anybody who is a Christian, and it is outreach, and it's to reach the people who are lost and the people who are outsiders and outcasts. And so, to start with that, I want to start with the idea of can't think of a time where you have felt like you are on the outside and you feel like you don't fit in and you feel different, or you've been pushed away from a group. Just some time that you have been an outsider and you have felt alone. And if you can think of it, think of a time where when you've been in that situation, somebody has gone out of their way to make you feel welcomed and loved. A time for that for me was last year when I was at school. And so to give some context of this, I went to a school in Western Oregon called Western Oregon University for a year, and I went to go into education, and it is not where God wanted me, and He made that abundantly clear. And part of knowing that is not where the Lord wanted me it was a really hard season of life to be up in Oregon. I was very alone. I was making a lot of sinful choices and just feeling extremely lost. I knew in high school that I was called into ministry, but I didn't want to do it, and I was really angry at God. A lot of stuff happened my senior year, and so I didn't want anything to do with that, and I felt like it was my choice, and it wasn't up to the Lord. So I decided to go to Western Oregon instead of going to Biola originally, and obviously now I'm here. But I felt really alone is the point, and I felt like I had no one around me, and I felt like I didn't have Christians who were helping support me in my faith, and I felt like I had secular friends who didn't understand my faith, and I felt really pulled and just really alone. I was up there for 4 or 5 months before I found a church that I fell in love with, and when I went, I was just at a place where I was making a lot of choices that I knew were sins, but I didn't know how to get out of it, and I didn't know how to get help. So when I walked into the church, I felt really alone. I felt like I didn't belong there, and I felt like I needed to re-innovate myself, and I just didn't feel good enough to be there. I felt like I had to do work to be there. And there was this girl named Haley, and she went out of her way to make me feel loved and to make me feel cared about. She was a senior, and she would take me to coffee, and she would take me shopping, and she would do Bible studies with me, and she would take me to small group, and she introduced me to the Young Life. And she just really went out of her way and went above and beyond to show me, you are loved, you are worthy of God's love, and, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it doesn't matter who you are, you are worthy of it. And she really helped me figure out, that it's okay, I am a sinner, and, the Lord will take over the sins for you. And she really was able to show me that. And she wasn't, in leadership at the church, she was just another college student. And to me, this is one of the greatest ways we can do ministry, is going out of our way to reach people, because that is how I figured out that I needed to change my life around and go into what the Lord has called me to do. And it was by her going out and loving. And I think that's what Jesus' whole message is in the New Testament, is He goes out to love people. And I think one of the great examples of this is in John 4. It's about a woman at this well. And to give you some context, there is this woman at the well, and she's by herself. And so back in the biblical time of this, normally women would go to the well together to get water, and it would be a group of women. But she was by herself because she was an outcast in society. She had slept with many different men, and that's not okay back then. So other women wouldn't go with her. She was completely alone and isolated. She was at the bottom of the barrel, just nobody had any respect for her. She was an outcast. She was dirty, just the bottom. Jesus was on his way from, where is it? He was on his way from Judea to go to Galilee, and he had to go through Samaria to get to Galilee. And he shouldn't have been going through Samaria, because Jews aren't supposed to go there. So to me, when I read that and I think about that, I think about the Lord goes out of His way to show you that He loves you and to show you that He cares about you. And it's just a small little example of how He will go to the depths and the highest and anywhere, like, that is great and beyond to reach you and to, like, seek you and show you his love for you, which is so cool. And I think that we're called to do that. Is we're supposed to go to great extremes to show people that we love them and to show people the Lord's love, which is such a blessing that we get to do that. When we go to verse 7 in John 4, it says, when a Samaritan woman came down to draw water, Jesus said to her, will you give me a drink? His disciples had gone into town to buy food. So an important piece of this is that it's just Jesus and the woman at the well. There's no crowd. This is just a one-on-one. He's not having this conversation to shame her. He's having this conversation to reach her, which I think is really important to know about this, that it is not about shame, it's about love, and it's about showing, which is really important. It goes on to say in verse 9, the Samaritan woman said to him, you are a Jew and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink? For Jews do not associate with the Samaritans. Jesus answered her, if you knew the gift of God, who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked and he would have given you living water. Sir, the woman said, you have nothing to draw from, the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it himself, as did his sons and livestock? Jesus answered, everyone who drinks from this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks from the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give will become in them a spring welling up to eternal life. So when we stop there, the woman's probably really confused. She has no context. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're crazy. And I think it's, like, very important to know, like, how Jesus walks her through this process. He doesn't just, like, end it there and go, like, figure it out yourself. Like, the whole time he's walking with this woman, he's being gracious with her and, like, loving her. And it's very, like, let me go through this journey with you instead of, like, here you go, now you figure it out. It is with her. Now we're at verse 15. The woman said to him, sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water. He told her, go call your husband and come back. I have no husband, she replied. Jesus said to her, you are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is that you have 5 husbands, and the man you have now is not your husband. What you have just said is quite true. In verse 16 it says, he told her, go and call your husband and come back. He's not, like, bluntly calling her out. He's not saying, like, you are an adulterous woman, you have slept with many different men, like, you are so bad. He's giving her the opportunity to, like, say, like, nope, like this is what it is. And she doesn't quite take it. She does. She says she doesn't have a husband, which is true. But he's not bluntly calling her out. He's saying it in a gracious way, because then he goes, you don't have a husband. You have 5 husbands, and the person you're with right now is not your husband. Like, he's not using these harsh terms and words. He's saying it very graciously, which is what we're supposed to do. When we go out, we're supposed to say things with love, and we're supposed to show people things slowly and lovingly, instead of being like, you are so wrong, you're going to hell for that. It's supposed to be, everything we do in ministry is supposed to be done with love and grace, which is so difficult to do sometimes, because it's so easy to see other people's sin and to see how if they change that, it will fix their life. But that's not what Jesus did. He did it in grace and love and truth. Now, when we go down to verse 19, it says, sir, the woman said, I can see that you're a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that this place where we worship is in Jerusalem. Woman, Jesus replied, believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father, and neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming and has come now, when the worshippers will all worship with the Father in the Spirit and the truth, for they are the kind of worshiper the Father seeks. God is Spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the Spirit and in the truth. The woman said, I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. Then Jesus declared, I, the one that's speaking to you, I am he. Just then, as the disciples returned, they were surprised to find him talking to a woman, but no one asked, what do you want? Why are you talking to her? Then, leaving her water jar, the woman went back to the town and said to the people, come see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah? I love thinking about that and thinking about how gracious he is, and that is what makes her fall in love with him. And I believe that this is what ministry is. It is showing people love and truth, and it is going out of our way to reach them and walk with them and to be with them in that. And I think that John 4 is a great example of that.